morning and welcome to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show, this is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. Happy Friday, Milwaukee. Greetings and good morning. I'm EBONY SsALI, and I thought last week was a long week, but this has been the longest week of the year. But I want to start off with reading something very simple, but hefty, weighty. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That is the oath of office for the President of the United States. And it was taken last week. And in that week, we have been strapped in for the wildest ride. The wildest ride. In the first 100 hours, we got all kinds of executive orders, and you can actually find them all on whitehouse.gov. Now, when I logged into whitehouse.gov, the picture in and of itself just blew my mind. It basically looks like a shout out to personal promotion. But if you click on the executive orders tab, you can see everything that has gone on in the past week, 2 weeks. And we have been in for it. But I wanted to kind of start at the top in the things that you show up and promise that you will do. I have shared previously that for me, the group you roll with, the squad you're with, that for me matters. How you show up and do your job every day for me matters. The skill set that you bring to the world for me demonstrates your belief in a higher power, your belief in your gifts, and your belief in your fellow man, if you will. So I'm kind of idealistic in that way. I will admit that. With that being said, to the best of my ability, we have to acknowledge when some folks are truly doing their best. They really are. And it's still not enough. We need to be okay in the space that you might be doing your absolute best, and that does not get us to where we need to be. I think about the military, and we'll get into the funding cuts, and we'll get into how that plays out in healthcare. We'll get into where we've been before. But I wanted to reflect on the concept that this is the worst group project I have ever been a part of. Because to the best of my ability is like both a true statement and a condemnation. Like, you can't win with everybody. Everybody can't be on the team. And so our political government, in theory, I love in theory was created to elect those who specialize, who can visualize, and who can mobilize, evaluate what's working, recalibrate if need be, and then move us collectively forward. That has always been how we do things in the United States. But to the best of my ability, we got to start taking people on their word. That is the best that you can do. Now, we moved forward in the concept of meritocracy. The group that rules is the most qualified. We have slid into mediocrity. And for some people, that's okay. Like, I've been still reflecting this past week on where I want to go and how I want to approach this administration, leadership in general. And I have been struggling with this idea of to the best of my ability. Leadership requires a viewpoint that you're here for the people that you lead. If you turn around and there's nobody following you, you are not a leader. You're on a walk. Okay? Like, that is clear. With that being said, to the best of my ability sometimes means you have to move people out of the leadership that they believe they're doing their best on, but it's still not enough. So we'll look at leadership. We'll look at what leadership should be. But I'm curious, Milwaukee, you talk back to me. What instances have you been in where um, leadership may not necessarily have been what you needed, but it was clearly to the best of the leader's ability? The second piece of that is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Now, I think back because hypocrisy is the thing that gets under my skin. You can't tell me something and then you go over here and do something different. President Barack Obama was a constitutional law genius. Okay, genius might be a stretch, but a professional. Constitutional law was his jam. He understood it. So when it comes to leadership, for me, let's take the political party out of the equation. Let's not do Democrat or Republican right now. Let's look at leadership. If your job is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, then you first have to understand it. You got to know where you're going. And then you've got to protect it. The fact that people come against quality leadership every day means that it's something that needs to be protected. It's something that needs to be defended. We need examples. We need components. We need to understand how all of this is connected and why we got to this place where we need the Constitution to be defended. For me, that's American. For me, that's patriotic. I look at our history in this country where we have gone overseas and fought. We have put soldiers in harm's way for these very principles that we're tweaking right now. So I'm simply calling to the carpet hypocrisy. And I want us not only to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, I want us to preserve, protect, and defend each other. And so when we talk about the cuts that are coming forth, when we talk about the executive orders that are coming forth, I am calling on everybody, but especially in this city that leads in segregation, to call on our leaders, because leadership means to the best of your ability. And if that's not what's needed at the time, then we have to start electing people and putting people in leadership that do have our best interest at heart. So yeah, protect, defend the Constitution. In order to do that, you need to know it. And in the year of our Lord 2025 and on Al Gore's internet, you can actually pull up the entire Constitution and read it at your leisure. You can read it, you can print it out, but you got to know what's in it. And we've got to understand that we have been here before. Now, I said last show that I am an alchemistic optimist, which means I like to spin the positive on things. I like to look at what good can come out of it. We'll get there. I'm not there yet. I'm finding it. But we will get there. So when it comes to these actions and how they affect us, because sometimes we just need to know, how does this affect us? Let me get into this. The cuts that were proposed are meant to reduce waste. I get it. You want to come in, you want to be the big guy, you want to make it look like you're doing something effective. You usually see this in organizational change. You usually see it in management, of when you get a new leader in management. They want to come in and put their stamp on things. They want to show that they're getting it done, that there was a reason for their hire. Unfortunately, the connections of how our government works haven't been studied in whole. So I want to get you thinking about a couple of things. The first is life. We've been talking a lot about life over the course of the election, over the course of the last few years, and we've been really, really focused on things that promote life. We care about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. These things are important to us. So I said, all right, let me do a little dig and do a little research. If I said 7,010,681, right out, what could that number be? If I said 7,010,681, What number could I even be referencing? That would be 7 million or something. What you think? What you think?
Population?
Close.
Money?
Close. Could be money.
Debt?
Money is involved.
Yeah.
Debt is involved. 7 million.
Sound like that's what the U.S. debt is?
That is? Nope.
No.
That's how many people have died from coronavirus.
Say that number again.
7,010,681 people died from coronavirus. Now, I'm not going to politicize where we were when COVID broke out. But for me, I think about how many world changers were in that 7 million. How many doctors, lawyers, professionals were in that number? How many moms, dads, cousins, the flamethrower on the grill, right? The person, our confidant. How many were in that 7,010,681? And that's just of April 2024. So there could be more that have taken place. That number stood out to me because we said that number was okay. We politicize that number now. We say that wearing a mask cramps my style. We say that people are overreacting. But here's the other piece that I know for sure. Science does not care. And a lie don't care who tell it. Ain't that the saying? Mm-hmm. Science doesn't care. Bacteria does not care how you last voted. Mm-hmm. Viruses do not mind if you prefer this type of leader over that one. Somewhere we have to get back to civility. Somewhere we have to get back to caring. And somewhere we have to figure out how we're going to preserve, protect, and defend the people that live in this country, because we simply don't have the bandwidth, the numbers to lose 7 million people over the course of 4 to 5 years. We just don't have it. 7 million people dead,
that's a
gone.
Lot of people.
So how do you stand up then as a leader and say life is important? Right? It makes you really think. So when I look at these cuts, I said, let me look at this from a pragmatic standpoint. Let me not, y'all, it's taking everything in my soul and my spirit not to get angry and frustrated to the point where you become inactive. So I said, let me take a look at just the federal freeze that affects an organization like a federally qualified health center. Okay, so these numbers are, or these organizations and parts of the government are the ones that touch specifically the federally qualified health system. So we have the National School Lunch Program. Now you say, well, how is school connected to health? Our babies are literally starving. They're literally starving, and not to the point of to death yet. Thank you, God, for that. But they're starving. They're going days without eating. Not even talking about just the effect that has on mental development. Not talking about the effect that has on your social interaction and growing up and what these neighborhoods will look like if children literally have been starving their entire childhood. Let's not even take it that far. Let's just say if you have an organization that is spending money overseas, what about our babies that are here? So the National School Lunch Program is the first one. They receive funding through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We have the Older Americans Act. Meals on Wheels, y'all. We starving out the babies and the elderly. Okay? That's what these funding cuts are doing. So prepared meals on wheels for the most vulnerable seniors, millions, get halted in their service. Now, when I collect data for this show, because it is very important to me to not only share my thoughts, my opinions, but to share the data, to share the actual process of these things. The CDC is one of the resources I rely on heavily. So that's the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Their purpose, and I went to pull the actual purposes of these organizations. They are to collaborate, to create the expertise, the information, the tools, the people communities need to protect their health through health promotion, prevention of disease, prevention of injury and disability, and the preparedness for new health threats. That's what the CDC is there for. It does not say that we're here to push a particular agenda. It is here to educate through health promotion, to prevent disease, to prevent injury and disability, and be prepared for new health threats. Now, if I am a patriot, if I am an American citizen, do I want us to be healthy? Like as a country, should I want us to be healthy?
Sure.
I should, right? Do I want to be disease free? Like, do you make more money when you're not sick? Are you more productive when you're healthy? What about injuries and disabilities? We have all of these components where we say, I'm prepping for doomsday, and I got my go bag, and I got my food rations, but you can't even run a mile, self included, without getting winded. So you need an organization that is going to care about the health and wellness of all of us, because that's national security at its base. Right? And then the preparedness for new health threats. Viruses, bacteria, these things change, they mold, they morph into something new. And so the things that are going to attack us in the next 5 years, we don't even know yet. We're not even prepared yet. So we need organizations within the government that do that. And the CDC is one of those. They were at pause for funding as well. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. That particular branch provides health coverage to more than 100 million people through Medicare, Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and the Health Insurance Marketplace. So Medicare and Medicaid simply work to strengthen and modernize the healthcare system, to provide high quality care and improved health at lower costs. That is their purpose, to bring down the cost of healthcare. Federal freeze, funding at stake. The Department of Health and Human Services serves to protect the health of all Americans and provide essential human services. At risk, federal funding cut. So if we just take those three, disease, injury, health, the access to medical care, improved cost, improved health outcomes, and protecting the health of all Americans, just those three levels within the government. To cut back funding of any of those goes against what's in the preamble of the Constitution, which is to preserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You cannot be in the pursuit of happiness when you are sick. You cannot have life and liberty if you don't have access to quality care. It just can't happen. So I want to hear from you, Milwaukee. Talk back to me. 414-444-5250. We've got the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, the Department of Labor, the Office of Disability Employment Policy, FEMA, and we're going to get into FEMA in a minute, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institutes of Health. And that was only me getting halfway through the alphabet. So when we talk about these funding cuts, I have a very simple question. How much is too much? Not only how much is too much, but when do we know that we've taken a turn for the worse? When do we know that the leadership is leading us in a way that is no longer feasible for the organization, that is no longer beneficial for the organization, and is causing us harm? How do we know? What are our tells? So throughout the course of this show, the theme is simply this. We're speaking seriously. This is seriously speaking. We need rational thought. We need rational care. We need leaders who lead. We need the meritocracy, the leaders in place that govern us from a sense of purpose, from a sense of education, from a sense of care and compassion. That's the kind of leadership that we need moving forward. We don't have the right people in place. How far are we willing to go into the hole before we start to try to dig ourselves out? That's the question. And it's just seriously speaking. So you are listening to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers, not just a show. This is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness. I'm EBONY SsALI. We'll be right back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money, providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the New Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are the New Pitts Mortuary.
Welcome back, Milwaukee. You're listening to Community Heartbeat presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show, this is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. we've been
Boy, if y'all could hear the off mic
I know, right?
conversation.
We need a hot mic.
I was told to shut my face this morning.
So the question that was posed during the break was, what happens after these 4 years, right? And so the question is gonna be, right, my retort immediately was like, hush, do not speak, do not speak.
No, somebody told me to shut my face.
I did, because what will be left? That is my question. Seriously, what will be left? And when you realize how fragile America is, like, we talk a big game, we talk a whole lot out our neck. We are number one, right? This is in what?
Why you do that African voice when you do that?
That's a shout out to my boo thing.
Yeah, that's your husband.
That's my boo.
Yeah. We are number one. See,
funny. Buddy, what is wrong with you? You gotta look at it a different way. So, babe, if you're listening, shout out, right? But you look at where we are, and some people just don't care. Like, let me tell you, I had a reality check this week. Some people just don't care. They don't care about doing a good job. They don't care about the legacy they leave. They just do not care. So when you ask, what does 4 years look like? I'm going to say, can you imagine working with a group that actually doesn't care? And what does that organization look like 4 years after them not caring? So I'm interested to hear from you, Milwaukee. 414-444-5250. What does it look like when people don't care? And what happens when we collectively disengage? So there's a graphic that's been floating around after the election. I'll look it up. I know I saved it in my
Ebony. It certainly makes me wonder. I looked at even something as serious as the plane crash on yesterday.
Listen.
How before folks would speak, they prefaced with, "Oh, the president is absolutely right," and just crazy stuff like they scared to just say what's on their mind or to think for themselves, to have their own opinion.
Right.
Because certainly for whom is supposed to be our leader to stand up there and politicize, if you will, that plane crash and begin to say that it's DEI driven and we need to have the best people in the right. This was an accident. Nobody.
But there were cuts that came last week. Mm-hmm. Do you know that there were actually cuts to the Federal Aviation Administration?
Well, under whom?
Under Donald Trump. That was one of the executive orders. So you had that, and let me look it up because I always want to make sure I'm not giving you false information. It came through on last week. And again, you can go to whitehouse.gov. On the homepage, there is a list of presidential actions. And we've had everything from a hiring freeze that was on the 20th of January. So the Office of Management and Budget, the Office of the Director of OPM and the Administrator of the United States DOGE Service. So that's where Elon Musk is. The Internal Revenue Service. All of those had cuts. So they basically said, let's pull employees from that. We don't need them right now. Then they proposed that they would buy out government contracts. So you work for the government, both of y'all work for the government. I don't like you both, but I'm willing to pay you for 8 months if you quit. That's what went out last week. So it's a little disingenuous when we call for thoughts and prayers. First of all, because let me get back on my soapbox. We say thoughts and prayers, but if you believe the Bible to be true, then faith without works is dead. So you giving me your thoughts and prayers, but what are your feet doing? What is that pen doing? Right? What are the actions you are actually working on? So see, y'all got me fired up again. Let me bring it down. You bring my heart rate back to homeostasis. So yes, you got the cuts that came, and now you have the consequences from it. What do we do with that? What do we do as Americans when we're going to see this play out? You got 7 million people dead because you didn't want to admit that disease mutates. Like, this is 4th grade science. This is put the saliva in the petri dish and look how it grows. This is basic stuff. This is if you only have one person watching all the planes, the opportunity for crashes goes up. This is not even deep thinking, right? So I'm struggling with that. And now you got death. So you tell me that life is the thing that's important. What do you do with these deaths? How do we rationalize that? That's my question. Whose conscience should those caskets rest on? And as a leader, right? And here's where it gets heavy. As a leader, that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? I come from a military family. I come from governmental service family. And it's like the duty is not because duty is cute. You don't show up and do your job because it's cute. You show up and do your job because it is required for the machine to function. Right? And if we talk all this productivity and we talk about it, now, quite frankly, seriously speaking, it's time to be about it. Period.
Yeah.
It's now time.
I wonder what his first 100 days, what his approval rating is going to look like.
Well, since we're on this reality show together, since this is the worst group project I've ever been a part of,
And you did this to us.
I mean, yeah. No, I was in the booth. And
we were having a good morning, and then you went there.
I know. These are the questions I have. So talk back to me, Milwaukee.
So were you able to ascertain the cuts that you were speaking to?
That's what I'm pulling it up. I mean, there's so many. I'm on page. There are 8 pages of cuts, Ebo. 8. So we have the alignment with foreign aid. We have declaring a national energy emergency that came across last week. Accountability for career senior executives is what this particular one is called. So let me just read a little snippet of this. Career senior executive service officials are charged to ensure that executive management of the government of the United States is responsive to the needs, policies, and goals of the nation, and otherwise is of the highest quality. So that means basically, hey, we want the best people doing the best thing, right? Mm-hmm. But in the next paragraph, we say, the president has the power to remove subordinates, and that is a core part of executive power vested by Article 2 of the Constitution and is necessary for the president to perform his duty. Okay? So now we've said the president can decide who's here and who's not. Mm-hmm. And then it says, within 30 days of signing this, the personnel management, the budget office are going to look at everything, right? And then if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can fire whoever we want. So then we go to cuts from the Federal Aviation Administration. Okay, so they control pretty much everything that flies. So if you have a drone, if you look on the bottom of your drone, it says that your drone ultimately can be trumped by any FAA official. So you fly your drone too high, it's got to come down. They're responsible for the regulation and oversight of civil aviation within the United States. He said, y'all got me too many DEI hires. Now, sir, you realize that the front desk staff at American Airlines is not the pilot. You understand that the person that checks the bag in is not the person that's in the flight tower, right? So those are two different people. So if the majority of the people that work in our aviation system are the baggage, the front desk, the fueler, the person who comes in and cleans the plane, and then you have a crash because you cut the other folks, don't blame the baggage handler for the crash.
Yeah, just
it doesn't make sense.
It don't make any sense, and it really, really seems like he want to go back to the Leave It to Beaver days.
Yeah.
You know, man, that the women are underneath the men, the white men.
Yeah.
White men are the top superior, and everything else falls underneath white men.
Now, here's where I struggle with the hypocrisy. I would be the first one to sign up to be a housewife. And let me explain. If I have enough revenue coming through my house where I have home paid for, 2 cars in the garage,
Leave it to be.
3 kids and a puppy, and we're not struggling.
Leave it to be.
And my neighbor is fed.
Yeah.
And the kids down the street are more concerned with a dance contest than they are by doing a drive-by because there's no scarcity.
Come on.
Okay.
I see where
they got jobs after school, right? When I go down to the cafe, to the diner, right? Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But what you don't have are the productivity of the 50s. You don't have the protections for the United States that we had in the 50s. So I'm with you. He wants an ideal that has never been in this country. Yeah. It really hasn't. So even when you look at the 50s and you look at Leave It to Beaver and you look at Suburbia and everybody had the station wagon and you had all of that, it was not equally applied, meaning Black folks had the same thing, but they were told they couldn't live in this neighborhood. So even though your money could bring you to this neighborhood, we just don't want you.
That was redlining, wasn't it?
That was redlining, right? So now we're doing the same thing. Here's my argument. We're doing the same thing, but we're couching it in the finance. We're couching it in, well, you got to have a certain number of your salary to live in my neighborhood. You got to be doing you got to have the Mercedes and the BMW and the, right? And the problem is that that's not realistic. Most people are doing that with debt. Yeah. Like, right? And now that's freezing up. So it's a domino effect. And I'm afraid because no one's doing the critical thinking.
I'm quite upset with you, Ebony.
Why are you upset?
Because you told me to go to whitehouse.gov.
And you see the shout out looking like...
And I see this dude...
looking like he in a...
Why do he look so evil?
It's like a concert promo.
But this is the part that gets me. He's got a big old picture of him, and then he says, America is back.
America is back to where? Yeah. Wait, we back...
Every single day, I will be fighting for you with every breath in my body. I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. And this would truly be the golden age of America.
You gotta laugh because it's like, wow. You gotta laugh because it's like, it's this at this point is the Hunger Games. Now I'm gonna tell you, I posted something on my thread some time back. I said, if you look at this from, have y'all watched Squid Game? Did y'all watch?
Yeah,
okay. You powered through the first season of Squid Game. Okay. So if you haven't seen Squid Game, it's a, I think it's political commentary, but it's basically the childhood games that you played now have life and death consequences. So you're playing tug of war now, but the team that loses plummets to their death, right? Or you're playing hopscotch, and when you get to the end, if you don't do it right, you face consequences of death. What was the first one? It was like red light, green light.
Red light, green light.
So you play red light, green light. You don't stop in time. You get killed. So Squid Game, extremely popular. We laughed. We were like, haha, great show. Then we had Netflix broadcast the Tyson fight. Okay? Now I'm going to connect these dots for you. Stay with me, Milwaukee. Connect these dots. Yeah. So they went live to show this fight, and everybody was hyped up. Tyson is gone. He gonna rock Jake Paul. And I went back to watch the first episode of Jake Paul training for this, and it was totally a setup. Okay. So here's my train of thought. Stay with me. Squid Game showed us that the things we made fun of in childhood could have life and death consequences. Then we put the gladiator on the spotlight like they used to do in Rome, right? We want to see this person get their head beat in. Like literally, that's what we said. We want to see this carnage on our television. We are tuned in. So I challenge you to think about, what's the third step? When Rome fell, gladiators were popular. That was entertainment. What had been put in place since childhood. We can't change it because that's just the way it is. That's just the amount of people that say that's just the way it is concerning. Just the way it is for who? So, Debo, to go back to your point, America is back. Is back to the childish behavior we had as kids. The ranking, we called it ranking back then. I don't know what the kids call it now. Ranking and ribbing now has life and death consequences. For me, I have dismissed everything that has come out of this man's mouth since he mocked the disabled person.
Yeah, that was bogus.
Done. Like that for me is my line. Yeah. So I'm challenging you again. What is your line? Like, what could be so detestable that you go, all right, I get it now. Is it 7 million dead? Is it mocking of those who are disabled? Is it I'ma starve your children out? Is it your grandma gets no more Meals on Wheels? Is it I wanted to use a word that's probably not, but the FCC ain't out here anymore. They got cut. Is it be damned to your health and wellness? What is our line? What is our line in the sand?
I mean, for me, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Especially for someone that holds the highest seat,
yeah.
the highest seat in America. It's just troubling that you see people that voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, we are worried because the low income people that voted for Trump is now feeling the effect of what you've done.
Yeah.
And now they like, okay, well, you know, Trump, we need help. What are you going to do? He's doing it.
He's doing it.
But like, he told him he was going to do this. It ain't like
But they didn't think it was going to affect them because of, you know, Trump is my man and he's in for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And now what?
And now they're on Facebook and YouTube crying, talking about we didn't think Trump was going to do this, and so we need our Social Security, and what about our Medicaid and Medicare, and so we can't access the portals, and so what's going to happen? And you voted for this.
You voted for this. You voted, and you ignored reason, and you put reason into a box and said, "Oh, well, you only got here because you."
Not only that, but a lot of people voted for this because they didn't want a woman telling them what to do.
Listen.
A lot of people voted for this foolishness
because they didn't want a woman.
You didn't, and then let alone a black woman telling you what to do.
Listen.
So now you got to deal with this foolishness for 4 years, and ain't no telling what's going to unravel in that time period.
Yeah. It's it is, so let me go back, Debo. I pulled up the actual order for the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
This came out on, what was that, last Tuesday, the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
This presidential action was called Keeping Americans Safe in Aviation. Big letters, Keeping Americans Safe in Aviation. And if y'all would just allow me to read it, it's a little bit weighty, but let me just read this here. Every day, the Federal Aviation Administration within the United States Department of Transportation oversees safety for more than 45,000 flights and 2.9 million airline passengers. These Americans trust the FAA's public servants with their lives, and therefore it is imperative that they maintain a commitment to excellence and efficiency. This is last week, Tuesday, y'all. During the prior administration, however, the FAA betrayed its mission by elevating dangerous discrimination over excellence. For example, prior to my inauguration, the FAA Diversity and Inclusion website revealed that the prior administration sought to specifically recruit and hire individuals with serious infirmities that could impact the execution of their life-saving duties. I'm going to fast forward down to the bottom. The Secretary of Transportation and the Federal Administration Administrator shall review the past performance and performance standards of all individuals in critical safety positions and take all appropriate action to ensure that any individual who fails or has failed to demonstrate requisite capability is replaced by a high capability individual who will ensure top-notch air safety and efficiency. So what I heard is that he didn't like the previous leadership. Okay, solid. We'll give you that. That's personal preference, professional personal preference. Then you say, so your office is now responsible for this. We're taking the lead on this. We're correcting the issues. And then you say, you are going to ensure that those who are in critical safety positions take the action. And if you fail to take action and you fail to demonstrate you have the capability to be here, you will be replaced. That's in your order. That's what is written by the stroke of your pen. If you fail to demonstrate capability, you will be replaced by a high capability individual that will ensure top-notch air safety and efficiency. So where's the line? How many crashes? Can we just decide right now? How many crashes are okay? How many lives are okay? Let's just get a comment.
That's what he after you read that. I mean, it's certainly even more apparent to me that he was trying to put the spin on that thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, well, their diversity and inclusion are the reason. And then you go after Tuskegee. And then that's the thing you cut. You want to cut. Okay, so let me catch you up. If it's too much and you tuned out, let me catch you up. One of the cuts that came through was the Air Force teaching about not only women pilots, because they're actually female pilots, women pilots. Mm-hmm. But it cut education of the Air Force, learning about the Tuskegee Airmen, not training like the Tuskegee Airmen, just learning about them, just putting that in the curriculum. They were like, nah, they don't need to learn about that. Now, the Tuskegee Airmen saved the you-know-whats in the war. They saved lives. That's what they did. So you tell me it's pro-life, right? Okay. Tuskegee Airmen are here saving lives, but we don't want to learn about them. Make it make sense. Can somebody make it make sense? Just help me connect the dots, right? Because when I talk to my Republican friends, I present it just like this. Make it make sense to me. You say that life is important, and then we save lives, but you say, let's not learn about them. How is that connected? We say people are important and they power our country, but we say, well, if sickness ravishes the people, we don't really, it does not matter. So I'm just saying, how many deaths are okay?
Yeah, just ingest that bleach and everything should be fine.
Yeah, just, you know what, drink the bleach. Just a little bit.
If it's curing the COVID anyway, let's just how about
a
drinking
capful. Just a capful. And the sad part is that it's taking private industry forward to say, please don't drink bleach. Please. Okay, let me explain. A little bleach in your dishwater. Okay, that's going to kill a little bit of the bacteria. A little bit of bleach. A little bit of bleach in your body will cause your body to basically explode from the inside out, right? You get caustic, you're coughing up your body. The bleach is dissolving your inner parts. I think we're taught that by 5 years old. And let me tell you how I know, Debo, is 5 years old. Because in kindergarten, you get the sticker that's Mr. Yuck.
Yep.
That you shouldn't put this in your mouth.
Remember Mr. Yuck, Mano?
Mr. Yuck.
Jermaine, are you with us?
He's over there trying to see the numbers. He's our official.
You remember Mr. Yuck?
Who? Don't put that in your mouth.
Mr. Yuck.
Mr. Yuck?
Yeah.
It was a sticker you got it like.
Oh, the green dude.
Yeah. Don't put that in your mouth. And then we have.
They had the poison.
Yes.
Maybe Trump didn't have that in his house.
No, that's in everybody's house. That's on the bleach. It says, do not drink.
I remember that.
But the man said, drink it.
Yeah. And so that's where we have
look at him. What you mean?
Look at him.
Look at him. Don't look like he washed up in Ajax.
Don't you bring?
I know.
Don't you bring her in here?
I won't do it.
Wash up in Ajax, man.
I'm like, can we get Rihanna? Rihanna.
Jasmine Crockett. You want Jasmine Crockett?
No, I want Rihanna. Rihanna, listen, you launched this beautiful makeup brand and it had all the shades. It was flawless. Can we please send somebody to help this man match his makeup up? Can we get
like a raccoon?
Like
that cat
it's blending, baby. You gotta blend that thing.
Yeah, he got like some orange and red,
right?
And
it's
a little
not
bit
blended.
of yellow going on.
Y'all stop it.
Okay, you're right. You're right. We back.
No, I ain't talking about him. I'm talking about what I saw.
Oh, what you had saw?
Yeah,
that for me is leadership. That's leadership. Like how you show up matters. What you say as a leader matters. I often say, like, you know, the higher you get up in your leadership journey, the less you can share candidly. You cannot pop off. Yeah. Oprah could be so angry at something. She can't pop off because she got people that working for her that have mouths to feed. Yeah. You just can't pop off that way, even if that's how you really feel. Yeah. Sir, you are supposed to be the leader of the free world and your administration. So I ain't letting nobody off with this one, right? It's everybody in these offices now. You're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the rational one. You're supposed to be the one that thinks for us. That's literally why you were elected, to think for us. So again, I say, how many bodies is okay? Do we have a number? Because 67 died on the airplane, right? In the helicopter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 67. Yeah. I need some protests. I need some marching. I need some folks that the pro-life that don't let this go. Because we are sinking into a place where it's going to be hard to dig out. And I don't really care the political affiliation. That for me is neither here nor there. You're either a good leader or you're not. I don't get caught up in oh, well, you know, we got to always vote this way. I'm going to sit back and listen to how you talk. I'm going to sit back and listen to how you move. I'm going to watch what you do. And then I'm moving in that particular way. So y'all, this is only what day really day 10, because we don't work on the weekends, right? This is day 10, reporting live. Now, let me go to the positive side of this leadership journey. I think what President Trump is trying to do is cement a legacy, which is a common misstep for leaders. You look at the people who came before you, and they're popular, and they're famous, and they left a legacy. So I think I'm going to do what I saw them do. Now, LBJ, right? President Johnson, he was 36th president and came in after JFK was assassinated. Okay. So he had to pick up the pieces of what was left behind from JFK. Now, I went to the LBJ library in Austin sometime back. And the first thing I noticed when you walked in is they have an exhibit with all of the pens he used to sign orders and laws. And so I said, well, let me look a little closer at what he signed. Because, yeah, the pens are nice, but what did these pens do? LBJ is noted for the Great Society. That's his legacy. He created the Great Society. Civil rights, public broadcasting, access to healthcare, aid to education and arts, urban and rural development, consumer protection, environmentalism, public service. He said America can only be great when we're all great, right? Now, he said America is only great when we're all great. He didn't have hats. He said America is only great when we're all great. He signed into law the Social Security amendments of 1965, which created Medicare and Medicaid. He created the Apollo space program, the Higher Education Act of 1965, which established federally insured student loans. He created the Immigration and Nationality Act of 65, right? The Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, all came under Johnson. And you know what happened? We had a car in the driveway, 3 kids and a dog, the picket fence. We had that. But most people had that, not just some. Now, you had the Vietnam War. You had domestic unrest. So we've been here before. This is not new. But you had a leader who said, I'm going to do the hard things and I'm going to think it through. And I'm going to promote us so we rise together. That's the difference in a leader. There are people in this country, there are people in this city. So I'm going to even bring it back down to this city who look at leaders and go, oh, I love the way the people love them. Oh, I love it how they walk in the room and they get handshakes and accolades. I could do that too. I could lead because they lead. And I got to be better than them. Okay. That's sometimes I think the kids call that Delulu. Is that what the kids are calling that? Delulu? Delulu? A little delusional. Leadership is not easy and it's not always fun. If you have run a company, if you have run an organization, you know most of the times that leadership is not the fun stuff. You got to make sure the trash gets taken out. You have to make sure the streets get plowed. You have to make sure that on the coldest days, the warming centers are open. Leadership is not always fun. But if you specifically target and hurt the people you say you're helping, where do we draw the line? I'm very curious. So talk back to me this morning, Milwaukee, 414-444-5250. Where do you draw the line? So Debo, let me ask you first, and I'm coming to you right out. So think about this. What would be the day that you wake up and say, no more? What would it take for you to wake up and go, no more? That's it. That's where I draw the line. This leadership has to go. And I'm not even speaking just in terms of political office. I'm saying leadership across the board. When do you decide this doesn't work for me?
I've already decided that.
So what's next? Like, okay, so what was the thing then that said
that he was elected, reelected, to come in and continue with his buffoonery?
Yeah. Because that, yeah. Like I said, for me, it was the mocking of the disabled journalist. I was like, where they do that at? You can have civil discourse. You can hate me. Listen, sidebar. I did pop my collar because some people hate me because I expect excellence. Yeah. If you're going to work with me and sit side by side with me, it's got to be excellent.
Yeah. I actually go off of this motto that my pastor says a lot. He says, why settle for good when great is available? So
say that again.
It's almost like, asking a person to raise their hand and they raise it halfway. Yeah. Then you tell them raise it higher. Then they raise it higher. But then you ask them why you just didn't do that the first time. Why you just didn't raise it the highest point that you could. So it's just for me, and this is just me, I can't stand for a person to lie in my face. Like
when the truth is
right there. So that's almost like you telling me that this microphone that I'm talking into is not black. And you trying to persuade me that this mic is yellow.
Right.
Look at it.
Do you think I'm stupid?
That's what it is. So it's like now you're insulting my intelligence. Yeah. And so, I was done then from the first time around.
We were like, woo, we survived.
Yeah, because I was like, for you to say the things that you were saying and it's caught on tape, that they got evidence and you saying that it's not true, that it's all a hoax, it's fake news, and it's right there. But then you got people that feels the same way that you feel because you're part of this whole $1 billion boys club.
Yeah. And not even good at it. Listen, again, I go to around me, you got to be excellent. You got to put up over here. You have to have the resume. You have to have the track record. I went my friends are sick of me. They're like, Ebony, relax. So I call or I'll text, and I text these, in my mind, profound questions. So let me ask both of you first before I share my thoughts about it. What's the difference between a winner and a champion? What is the difference between a winner and a champion?
That's a good question.
Character.
Okay. Character.
Character is vital in that because Donald Trump, he won, but he's no champion.
He's no champion. And so as I think about life, because again, the theme that's been playing around in my mind is leadership, and leadership in what it requires of you, and leadership in what the expectation is.
Ebony.
Yeah.
Just that same dude.
Yeah.
When he lost.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
There was all kind of fraud and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Hey, find me some votes over here, and I need you to do this. That's not a winner. That's not a champion.
And where would the patriotism be? Like, if you know that's directly against our process, where does that matter?
Well, you know,
there's folks that I take my hat off to. One would be Mike Pence's wife.
Right.
Who would not shake his hand, wouldn't even look him in the eye.
Or George Bush. We gonna get into it.
You gonna reach your hand out to me, really? And you told these people to basically go down there and kill my husband?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, what I don't understand is how this is the same election process in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if it was rigged then,
is it still rigged?
You ain't heard nobody say it was rigged this time.
But see, this is where I say you gotta watch the articles. So there was a city, and I'll go through it in our next break and look it back up again. The voting machines, they're saying, were wrong. And so what they did this time around, and they simply the cities and municipalities just said, we won't be working with those vendors again. No breaking news. No, it just quietly was an article that nothing. Is that this didn't work for us.
Now, was it just me, or did I hear locally here that there was like
same?
But just couple hundred votes was found in the back room somewhere.
Crazy.
So
crazy.
I really believe, and this is just me. I really believe that if anything was stolen, it was stolen this time.
Well,
the second time around.
Well.
Because, even when I was watching the whole process play out, and I'm looking at the numbers come in, and I'm looking at how lopsided the numbers are, and I'm like, something is rotten in Denmark, man.
Something is rotten in the cotton. Rotten in the cotton.
Something is not right. But again, then when you got the $1 Billion Boys Club running the country, you could put people in place to get your agenda through.
Yeah. It looks like we have a caller. Greetings and good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you?
All right. I was just thinking about it was some bags of mail that was found, and it's never been mentioned again. Because it's always happened. It's like through the mail system.
Yeah.
So, and it just quietly went away. It was only said one time on the news.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was only said one time.
And that was it. This election. Yep. But normally they count them and evaporate on it, but this time they didn't. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, what had me was like, it was almost like those commercials when they tell you the side effects.
Right, with the happy music.
Right. Lose your toe, heart fall out,
and your body will.
Your eyes is gonna go black.
Spontaneous combustion.
Yeah. Death by 1,000 cuts.
Some have reported dying.
Yeah, like right. So are they giving you?
But use these eye drops though. Yeah. I don't think that's a fair trade.
So it's like almost like, wait a minute, did you catch what they just said? If you use this,
right?
So that's how that whole reporting was like, oh yeah, a couple votes was lost.
Yeah.
No, these sports, the Milwaukee Bucks is what?
And I come from a news background, meaning I used to work in television, control room behind the scenes, and it never failed to amaze me how we would be like, in a house fire and 3 lives were lost, but in the sports game tonight, the Bucks have a game. It's like what?
What just happened?
How do you transition from that? And again, I feel like right now it's a laugh to keep from crying. It's a laugh to create some levity, because this can't be life. Like who is looking at all of the nuances? So I'm challenging all of you. Put in your phone. You go in, you log into Facebook, you go in, you log into Instagram. Please put whitehouse.gov in your top 5 places that you need to check in with every morning, because elections have consequences. Executive orders have consequences. I just want leadership that cares about the people it's leading. I want groups to start caring about excellence. It matters. Excellence matters. And I started with just a little comment that, there are people who don't like to work with me. And let me tell you, ask me how I sleep at night peacefully.
Like a baby.
There are people who prefer not to work with me because I won't say demand, because that's a strong, but you get the sense working around me that you got to bring your A game. You get the sense that you might not be able to just mail it in.
See, but there's nothing wrong with expecting excellence.
Nothing.
There's nothing wrong with expecting greatness.
Don't you want a leader like that?
I mean, you should want a leader that's going to pull the best possible you out of you.
Yep. That's every coach. That's every leader. That's every mentor. That's how, now for me, that's what separates a champion from a winner. Now, when I describe the two, a winner is a person that wins. And you got a lot of those. You got a lot of folks that come in, they excel, and they win. But a champion moves with the expectation of winning. No, these are the things that need to be in place for us to consistently win. You don't see champions celebrating like crazy. They're not popping bottles every time they win, because I've been here. I'm a champion. When I show up, it's when people see Michael Jordan, there's an expectation of winning.
Vince Lombardi used to say, act like you've been here before.
Act like you've been here before, right? That's a champion. So this is my moment to call on all of the leaders and the champions in this city and in this country. It is now your duty to move us into winning, right? The only other option is that we lose.
Ebony, ironically, this past Saturday on my blues show, I apologized to my listeners, and I asked them to go look in the mirror and apologize to themselves.
Ooh.
Because we all failed in our mission. There was no reason. And I personally will admit, I went, my wife went, but I got 5 grown children. I didn't make sure that they went. I didn't request or demand that they come and go. Hey, we're going to do this as a family. There were things that we could have done to shore up this state. We lost Wisconsin to this dude.
We did. And you know what? I've heard mumblings and grumblings that Wisconsin was lost. And the reason Vice President Kamala Harris was here so much was because we lost Wisconsin before, because Hillary didn't come enough. She didn't come visit us enough. She didn't come to our fish fry. Right. She didn't. And so I feel some kind of way that she didn't come to our fish fry. But now grandma don't get Meals on Wheels. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, please, we champions have to think about the process. I look at like a Kobe Bryant, and I'll use the sports analogy because that's where most people can understand it. You think that man liked getting up and going to work out in the gym? Rest in peace. You think that man liked being away from his family and grinding? Hurt, what did he hurt? His knee or his Achilles, right? Surgery. You know the pain that takes to come back from that? But it's a champion. So a champion knows, and I'm going to go this far. I know some people probably have their ideas about LBJ, but that is what a champion looks like. This might hurt a little bit in the short term, but the purpose is for better. I'm going to sign legislation for education, because you know what? The more educated we are, the more businesses we create, the more money you make, the more revenue I collect as your government. That's a champion mind state. A winner mind state might look like, well, a couple people can win, and as long as they make billions, then they'll give back a little bit. That's what a winner might say. Okay? That's checkers to chess. You had, let me just go back up to LBJ's policies here. You had Medicare and Medicaid. Here's the thing. When I am concerned about paying for my parents' medication, I'm concerned about a heart condition that my parent might have, and I show up to work, do you think I'm giving you my all?
Not at all.
Because I'm not focused, right?
You're not focused because your mind is on your level.
Right. And so if we don't provide the care for them, then our people aren't showing up and being as productive, right? You might win because the budget looks balanced, but that's not a champion mind state, right? We got the war on poverty. You know what wars we haven't won? We won World War I. We won World War II. You know what wars we haven't won? The war on poverty.
War on drugs.
The war on drugs. The war on stupidity. Hey, right?
That one we're going to continue to lose with current leadership.
I'm a soul. Okay. Against the army of poverty, right? But these are serious things that we need to think. So I'm just going to step back and say, seriously speaking, Milwaukee, what's your line? What's your line in the sand? Where do you draw the line? How bad do things need to become before they push you to action or push us to something different? So talk back to me. 414-444-5250 is the number to connect this morning. So we talked about coronavirus and the numbers. 7 million gone. 67 gone last week based on an executive order. And we just getting started. Did y'all hear about Guantanamo Bay and the proposal for sending immigrants there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is cruel.
It is cruel.
Because that's a prison.
It is.
That's a prison that's almost ran like Rikers Island.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know what Rikers Island is, it's a prison that.
Listen. And did they close? I think they closed it, but I'm gonna tell you why Rikers Island disturbed my soul so much. So I've told you many, many times on this show, I love documentaries. Time, the Kalief Browder story, was on Netflix. Have y'all seen that documentary?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So Kalief Browder was a New York teen. He got accused of stealing a backpack. Yeah. He was out late at night. Him and his people accused of stealing a backpack. Kalief did not steal the backpack, but he ended up doing 3 years in jail in Rikers. So he went in as a juvenile. Lawyers kept not showing up. Public defenders kept not showing up. So he kind of got lost in the system. He did 3 years for being accused of stealing a backpack, which then they later, the person who filed the report later recanted his story and said, you know what, the backpack wasn't stolen. Oops. Okay. For the 3 years you lost. Kalief ended up taking his life because he couldn't understand, he couldn't compartmentalize how you could accuse somebody of doing something, they not do it, serve time, and then not be given the resources to get back on their feet, right? So rest in peace, Kalief Browder. I do believe that documentary is still on Netflix. It's called Time. Please take time to watch that. What that showed me, though, is that rhetoric, the words you speak, are important, and that somebody has to be the checks and balances of this. So why do I bring up Kalief Browder in relationship to Guantanamo Bay? When it comes to the violation, I'm putting that in air quotes, the violation of immigrants, that they're here in the country without legal status. That's the way we're going to start saying that. We're going to take out the word illegal and we're going to say you're here without legal status. Okay. Because we can get into laws and how those laws change and what has been done in this country in terms of laws. But Guantanamo Bay was created and established in 2002. It feels like it's been there longer than that, but it was established by George W. Bush. And the purpose was to hold, and this is from the governmental website, so this is not Ebony pontificating. You can go and look it up. It was created and established in January of 2002 by President Bush to hold terrorism suspects and illegal enemy combatants during the global war on terrorism. That's another one, Debo. So we got war on poverty, war on drugs, war on terrorism, that came after September 11th. As of January 2025, so that's now, 780 people from 48 countries had been detained at Guantanamo. 756 have been transferred elsewhere. 9 died in custody and 15 remain. That's where we're proposing to send people that we want to deport. Here's why this creates some issues. That's a different level of government. Guantanamo Bay is a military. So to your point, it's a military prison. Military prisons are governed under different laws than the United States government in prison, the federal prison system, or the city or county jails. So the rights that you have when you arrive at that place are different. Okay? Let me give you an example. I take you down to room A. I arrest you. When I put you in room A, you have some rights. You might know them as Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent, right? You have the right to legal counsel. All of these things you have a right under your state law and under federal law. In this space, B, you have no laws. You are governed by military policy, which transcends country. Okay? The problem with room B is that under military law and the current United States law, you can be detained indefinitely. Do you know what indefinitely means? Forever, ever. Forever, ever. So I go back to the Khalif Browder story to say this man served 3 years in one of the most notorious prisons as a child because someone said he stole a backpack. And now you want me to trust you to send people who somebody said was not here with legal status to a place that is governed by the military?
And places like that, when you're inside of those walls, anything goes.
Anything goes.
So it's by having those people there, you have guards that feel like Trump.
Yeah.
That when the cameras is not on, and you're in that room, and they can treat you any kind of way because there's no accountability for them to be held to because no one's really overseeing, and they really don't want them there anyway. So that makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So, Ebony, what's your? I have it on screen. The question that you pose, it says, "What is your breaking point with current leadership in the United States of America?"
Yeah.
What would be your first move with the level of frustration, having reached that point? And I guess it's a question, but then I want to throw something on the table. I mean, is it that we need to lean into our organizations such as NAACP, organizations like that? Do we get involved and really get stronger by uniting? I mean, what do we do?
So in this country, and I get pushback from this, but I said we recognize 3 things. We recognize sex, meaning the ability to reproduce and intercourse and the things that are navigated around sex and sexual health. We recognize money. Mm-hmm. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense in this country. Which has its own implications of if you starve, that's fine, as long as I'm eating well. That seems to be the thought process now. And we recognize violence. People don't pay attention until there's a threat or there is violence. So sex, money, and violence are the things that we pay attention to. What I would do, my first moves would be to secure that. See, we can get on any kind of soapbox and talk about we want more babies in this country. But listen, you want more reproduction. You want people to be getting it on and having more children. Give them a safe space to do so. Because it's hard to be real sexy when your stomach is growling. It's hard to have sexy time when you're about to be evicted. And so my first move would be to create stable financial policy. That would be the first piece, because without money, it's not going to be sexy time. Okay. The second thing would be violence and the threat of violence. It's hard to be productive when you're afraid that somebody might bust into your workplace and shoot up the place. It's hard to be productive with that. Right?
I mean, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, it's hard to be in that mind frame. There's no romance without no finance. So,
cut it
you
out.
see what
I'm
but
just
it's
saying,
right.
like, no,
because
I'm
they've
saying
been telling us
because
since the beginning.
Like how your mind gonna work, and you like, man, how I'm gonna pay for the.
It's a different get down in the Four Seasons than it is in the Four Reasons Motel.
All right, man.
But we got a caller this morning. Greetings and good morning. Welcome to Community Heartbeat.
Hey, good morning. I have a few questions. I just want to basically know what can be done to stop Trump. I mean, we all talk and we all go through all of this stuff. But how can you impeach him right now?
So that would take a law, an act of Congress. And so you would have to cite specific the law that you feel has been overstepped. So we need to go back to the law and really Google impeachable offenses. And then we need to call on our Congress and senators to say, we believe this to be an impeachable offense, and we would like you to bring that in your next session and put the pressure on them. See, the benefit that people have been getting ahead with is you can get mad, and we generally as a collective get mad, we scream, we fight, but we don't pick up the phone and call and say, you won't have a job if this is not done the way I would like it to be.
So didn't they try to impeach him before?
Let's do it again.
He's been impeached.
Let's do it
twice.
again.
I want to do
twice.
it. I want to do it now. I want to do it. Because the way, I mean, talking with me listening and make me sick to myself. Humans can be just violated.
She was on speaker.
No,
You're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit.
That people can be put in prison or killed in the process of them taking them into custody. That kind of just threw me off. It made me sick to my stomach because that could be anybody.
That could be anybody.
We don't know who a person is just by their looks. I look Haitian until I start talking. Somebody looks a different color until they start talking. So now they're trying to get people to just stop and frisk you for $1,000. So now they just want to just start an all-out war to me just based on race.
Yeah, and I do have to agree with you because I saw on YouTube when they was going around arresting people, and they arrested this Haitian young man that had locks just like me, that looked like me, but you wouldn't know he was Haitian until he started talking. And he said out of his mouth, I hate Trump. Man, I miss Joe Biden. So he's saying this while he's been arrested, and he's like, I'm not going back to Haiti. I'm going to kill myself. And they was like, oh, well, and put him in the car.
So you know that you saying that you don't like the president is protected under free speech in that Constitution, right? So that's in the Constitution. I can do that. I can get up and say how, this, that, but I'm protected under the Constitution. That same one that he didn't put his hand on the Bible and swear in.
That's because he don't know how to turn the Bible right side up.
But you had another point you wanted to make.
I just want to get with everybody right now. I want to take a knee just to shut down the world, period.
Yeah.
I'm just tired. I'm ready to do it. I don't have to get up and go to work. I don't have to get up and do anything. And I need people to start standing together and saying the same thing.
Yeah, we with you. Listen. There will be a great society, and it will arise from the ashes that we are collecting right now.
Let me just throw this out there too, Ebony. For those that listen to the Al Sharpton show, he heads the National Action Network. They are putting together, as we speak, a boycott. And some of those same businesses that turned away DEI and dissolved their programs, we're not going to spend the money with them. That gets their ear. That gets their attention.
Gets their ear. Because we respect three things in this country: sex, violence, and money.
And you ain't gonna take my money if you don't like it. You ain't gonna,
there you go.
No, I'm not gonna give it to you.
There you go.
Well, please keep posting it because I'm ready to do whatever. Like I say, I'm out here all the time trying to fight and help whatever that's possible. I have a nonprofit as well. I just need people to come together and stop having that crab in the bucket mentality.
Well, listen, slide into my DMs. We just launched a new page for this show, Community Heartbeat Show on Instagram. So slide in my DMs. Let me know what you're working on, and we're gonna figure out how to collaborate with this thing because we do need each other. So I appreciate you for calling. Keep listening. You are listening to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show. This is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness. I'm EBONY SsALI. We'll be right back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money, providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the New Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are the New Pitts Mortuary.
Welcome back to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show, it's a movement. Listen, y'all, I wish y'all could hear these talk. We might have to just start a podcast.
Y'all let him use it. Let him use you. Let him use you.
You got to let him use it. That's that deacon board. That's that deacon board.
Won't he do it? The morning business.
That's that devotional coming back.
Don't you start, Mano.
I need the choir marching in. So then let's take it there. Let's take it back to the religion side. You know what? No, before I jump in there, let me take this caller that's been waiting. Greetings and good morning to you. Welcome to Community Heartbeat.
Oh, good morning.
How are you? How are you?
I am fine, and I am listening. And how are you all?
We're doing good. Listen, we're in here just trying to get through. Just talking about the things. So how are you feeling with the government and everything that's been happening over the last week?
Not even the last week when you first got here. Not even the last week. I've been mad ever since I saw him. You know what? I didn't even know him even the first time because I had never seen a Trump hotel.
Yeah.
You know, and then when I saw that man talking, I said, When he first got in, I said, this man, he's not right. He's not for the people. And, behind all of this, he's got his little lackeys, all of this Heritage Foundation, Federalist Society, the Playbook, 2025 Project. The Playbook is what they're putting together. He's just the one that's going to take the punches. Because, everything he do is silly. And he wants us to react. Yeah. So, like I said, what we got to do, we got to stop reacting and go to work on this stuff.
And go to work.
I don't exactly know where we could start because everything that's destroyed, they're destroying stuff to protect us. They're putting back in the death penalty. A lot of stuff they're doing, they're taking away stuff like DEI and affirmative action. Yeah. And so now they got profits for jail. You can buy stocks and bonds into people going to jail. So he wants to make sure people go to jail. And then the gun lobbyists want to make sure people can have all these high-powered guns.
Right.
And if you go around and you mess around and you shoot somebody, even though you felt you was right, they might have a glitch in the law that say you weren't right. So you end up in some of these nonprofit jails. So you're going to spend all this money for jails. How come you're not spending it to educate the people?
Well, that's the thing. So to house a prisoner costs money. And so if you're going to spend the money regardless, then wouldn't it make sense to put that money in the education system, make us productive citizens, and then in the words of Missy Elliott, we make them rich so they don't have to thief. Like everybody is doing well enough where theft is not a problem. We're all doing well. Right. But if we're going to spend the money, but I guess he says, let's put it in the prison system. And then we take education out of the prison system. So now you come out and you're dumb still.
You're criminal. You go back in because you have no hope. And there's no hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but I mean, it is so rugged that they're doing. And then on top of that, you got the automation. And I always say, to me, it looks like they're calling population. They use the immigrants. They use the slaves. Now we don't need them no more. Right. Now behind our back, you got all of these new machines. I will tell you, I worked at Rockwell for 37 and a half years. It was Allen Bradley. I watched them take those machines out. I watched them outsource all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they were using people, they were using the kids and everything here in America. They used slaves. Now all of a sudden, you don't need us because you got all of this in the background that's doing the work. And even with the gardening now, they even got automation picking, those crops and stuff. And so they be using us and telling us lies. And we got started, like I said, reading because, like I said, you were running it down, all the information you were running down. We got started reading and looking up this stuff, that documentary on Khalif, what's the guy? That little guy that died in the prison.
Khalif Browder. The show is called
I saw his documentary.
Yep.
And you know what? She actually hit it right on the head when she said that we got to start looking this stuff up.
Yeah.
These people that are doing this stuff to us, they know that if they put it in a book, they know if they put it in there that they won't read it, they won't research it, and by the time somebody reads it, we are already 10, 15 years into what we tried to implement.
Yeah.
So
the damage is done.
Now, exactly. So now the damage is done. And so now we still working from behind.
Yeah. But we have to engage our elected officials. That is our way forward. There will be intellectuals that are going back and so I feel like my role in this movement is to present the information. Yeah. I went back when we talked about the homeless and the unhoused population last year on this show. I went and researched. That's where I discovered the Heritage Foundation. And I said, now, wait a minute, let me do a little bit of digging. The Heritage Foundation, all they do is exist to create bills and legislation to propose. And that bill and legislation started with the unhoused population. They wanted to make it illegal to be homeless. So if you make it illegal to be homeless, all that means is you can be arrested for sleeping outside. Now, what is the check to see if I'm homeless? Is it just that I don't have an address? Well, what if I buy a house today and I don't live in the old place and I haven't got the deed to the new place? I'm homeless, right? So if you see me taking a nap, you can arrest me. And now I'm in the system. That same system that kept a man in jail for 3 years for being allegedly a thief.
Private
prisons, right?
Yeah, private prisons.
That's where we're at. We so for me, when I hear people talk about woke, the opposite for me is sleep. Right? And that for me is a real black and white. You're either awake or you're asleep at the wheel. It's
and
time
don't
for
drink
us
the
to be
Kool-Aid.
awake. Yep. It's time for us
don't
to stay
drink the
awake.
Kool-Aid because you're going to be over there in Guyana with Jim Jones.
Again, there's a documentary on that too, Jim Jones.
Oh, big time. Okay.
But I thank you so much for calling. Keep listening. Keep sharing. This will require all of us to be at attention. Like I said, this election, these cuts has to be the worst group project I've ever been a part of. And I feel like I did the work. I did my part of the assignment. And I'm just like, how come everybody else didn't have to do theirs? We've got another caller. Greetings and good morning. Welcome to Community Heartbeat.
Ebony, can I get a good number to reach you and a good email to reach you?
You sure can. You sure can. So to reach me, you can give us a call. Now, I'll be back in the office in a little bit, but 414-727-6320 is the main number for outreach, and they can connect you through to me. Please reach out and call. But my email, Ebony, EBONY, the letter S, like Sam, like Sally, at orcch-milw.org. So that's Ebony, EBONY, the letter S, at orcch-milw.org. Please email me and let me know. Keep me involved. This is what I love to do. This is my passion. This is my purpose, to make sure that I'm sharing information about what's going on and leading us to the things we should be paying attention to.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the country. We need to all be focused. Look, face your front. All eyes on the front. All eyes on the front.
Dog again. There you go again.
Face your front.
I am there. Face your front. Pay attention. Pay attention. We've got another caller. Greetings and good morning. Welcome to Community Heartbeat.
Hello, good morning. How you doing, man? I'm enjoying the show. Good. I agree with a lot of things you guys are saying, but I got to push back a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, first of all, I support mass deportation. Okay. Me as a black man, a lot of black men I know aren't sitting here going to cape or fight for illegal immigrants, and I'm gonna tell you why. Us as black people in America. I'll start with ground zero, California, Los Angeles. Used to be about 30% black people there. And then you're a young lady, in your lifetime, you're going to see it's going to be about 2% black people. And that was a strategic move. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, by the white racist Latinos in Los Angeles, by the Asians. So it'll be no more black people in Los Angeles. So they started with there. Now they're working on, and this is Democrat stuff, by the way. Now they're moving on to Chicago, which everybody could see if they be genuine, that the blacks there saying, get these people out of our neighborhoods. There's already been a couple killings between them Venezuelans and black people. Now let's move over to New York. These are all places where black people is. They dumping them in black neighborhoods. There was a black woman that got killed in Harlem by one of them Venezuelan. Check this out. There was the guy, his name is Elijah Mitchell from Brooklyn, killed one of the Venezuelans. You're not supposed to unalive anybody. He got charged. The law is the law. But guess what they did? In New York City, another Democrat place, they gave this young brother a hate crime bill. And now the other gentleman, he said he's seen that video with the Haitian, but I don't know if he did it purposely or maybe he didn't watch the whole thing or maybe he did it conveniently. He left out the part where that Haitian in Boston got charged 17 times and got let out. Listen, I know native-born Americans of any race that ain't getting locked up 17 times. They just keep letting you out. So that's another point. And I'm gonna make another point. Okay, now let's say if Kamala Harris had won, you letting 20 million people over here. We're already at 13, 14% of the population. That probably would have us down to about 9% of the population. You down to 9% of the population. You're like the Native Americans in terms of voting representation, things of that nature. Now you push further over your voting power is going away. Now you're talking about Guantanamo Bay. You know who's gonna go there?
Who's gonna go there?
Cartel members. They all in America. Go talk. I'm not saying. I don't mean to say this. I know people. I know brothers in a lot of different states. I did prison. I did 7 years, so I know all about that. A lot of them. I'm not fighting for no cartel members. A lot of them are going. Are they going to be casualties as far as people that get sent there? Listen, I can guarantee it ain't going to be too many of our people getting sent there. They're all in America. He designated them as a terrorist list. So that's my issue with that. And as far as Humwin, I'm not a Trump fan. I don't hate him, nor do I dislike him. But my life ain't got no worse since he got in. And then as far as that DEI, whatever it's called, I want them to blow the whole thing up. You know why? Because I looked at the government, like you say, look up stuff. I look up stuff. Black people was next to last in terms of getting government contracts behind the Native Americans. There's only 10 million Native Americans in America, and we got like a little bit more than them. You know who got more of that money? Hispanics, Asians, white women, LGBT. So blow the whole thing up and let's see where the money really going, because our faces on the front of a lot of these movements and these other groups are benefiting for it. The way I look at it, listen, we got to think about self-preservation. That's what we got to think about in this country. And you saying spend the money on education? No, they spent the money on immigrants. We talking about billions of dollars in Chicago, $1 billion in New York, $1 billion in California. And I'll make one more point.
I like it. You know I'm keeping notes, so you know I'm coming back at every single point.
And I want you to listen on your spare time. I want you to be genuine and look all this up. Do you know that the states with the most hate crimes is all Democrat states? And and there's a young boy right now in California. He's 14 years old. Some racist Mexicans, because see, a lot of black people in America, if you're not from the East Coast, the North and East, or you're from California, they think all Latinos are just some. No. A lot of these people identify as white.
I believe that. Yeah.
They playing the same move they did with the Irish. You go to listen. I throw one more. Look at Miami. Miami used to be black. There's no black down there. No, the cops down there are white.
Miami didn't used to be black. Miami used to be Cuban.
Yeah, Cuban.
Okay. Miami used to be Puerto Rican. Miami used to be Mexican. Yeah. Miami.
No, but okay. You got one city. The other city, the other city, but it was a more black population. But them Cubans and a lot of them are Latinos identify as white because most of them are white. We thinking about the white boys from Alabama with the KKK flag. But I look at them Latinos the same way. You go to I want you to do this in Los Angeles for 20 years. I want you to look at Florencia 13. It was going around killing, and the FBI had to go. They was going out there killing. Listen, if you're not plugged in with different things across the United States, people won't know what's going on with our people. They're looking at that redneck.
Here's the part I got to push back on you.
That's a fact.
I got to push back on your pushback. Here's the deal. You can't look at the final cause of a thing and not look at the system that brought it there, right? So that there's a disconnect right now in what you're seeing and what has been placed before you. Now I'm gonna give you, but I want to hear this. I want you to answer this one question for me.
Go ahead.
What would be your line in the sand where you would say, this is too much for me?
In terms of political?
In terms of what you're seeing right now, what would come on your TV and across your social media that would say, you know what? We're better than this. This is not okay.
Okay. Okay, from a political standpoint, the line in the sand, because we're Americans, and then we're Americans, and then I have to think about our people. I love all people, but I love black people more than anybody, just like anybody else do.
Not after you just got on here and talked about the DEI piece.
Yeah. That part
no. I gave you numbers. I want you to look that up in terms of the government spending, who that money was allocated to, government contracts. Just look that up, because like I don't just watch CNN. So
let me hit these points, because you brought up a lot of great points. I hope you keep listening. I hope you keep checking in. We're here every 2 weeks, so I hope that you keep sharing your thoughts, and I appreciate your perspective. So I want you to know we all don't have to think the same. We're not a monolith. So I appreciate the other side of that. But
what do you think about Brandon Johnson?
Lyndon Johnson?
Brandon, that terrible mayor from Chicago, because all the blacks out there don't like him.
So here's the thing.
They don't like him.
We got to get over the minutia. Right now at the city level, what mayors are doing, stay focused on the big thing. These are federal changes that will have decades of implications. So let Chicagoans worry about their mayor. Let us federally worry about what's happening in the United States. Now, you touched on 3 things that I have to speak to. You talked about mass deportation. The problem with mass deportation is not the fact that we've now decided that people should be deported and should be moved back. The process that we do it by is what you got to pay attention to. Now, who's paying for the buses, the planes? Who's paying for that? Secondly, how do you affirm that? How do you showcase that this person has overstayed their asylum? That takes federal funding. So when you cut the federal funding for the people that do it and then say you still want it to be done, my question is, how is that going to happen? You talk about death by immigrants, right? And I'm gonna give you a separate example. People are being killed by immigrants. Okay, they're also being killed by white people. They're also being killed by children. They're also being killed in churches. They're also being killed across the way. So we can't take one little piece and say that death by immigrants is the reason that we've got to, and I will use the parallel example of OWIs. People get arrested on the streets of Milwaukee for driving drunk 17 times, 11 OWIs. You take away their car. You don't shut down my street. You put them in jail. You don't tell me I can't drive past 9 o'clock. So stay focused on the thing that is the thing. If that immigrant has killed someone, then we have a penal system that handles that. That has nothing to do with their immigration status.
And I'm sure they didn't kill them 17 times.
Right?
Okay. Here's my thing. Here's my thing. I'm not when I said, because listen, here's the thing. When I said that, you left out the part where I said, if you let in 20 million people, 16 of them are Hispanics, 15 of them after one generation are going to think like. That's why I'm glad Trump won, so our people, because I already know how these people are. So a lot of black people was in shock. I can't believe a lot of Hispanics voted for Trump, of course, because after 1 or 2 generations, they identify as white. Go look at Puerto Rico. Look at this.
A lot of people, and I respect that, and I appreciate your call. A lot of people after the election said this too. A lot of people said we've been here before. We've seen how this movie ends. A lot of people said we saw how this worked with the Trail of Tears and the Native Americans. A lot of people said we've seen what smallpox and mumps and measles did to our country, so we don't want to go back to that. A lot of people said we see what economic and the poor economic policy did to energy in the 70s. A lot of people said we saw what drugs and the war on drugs did to our country in the 80s. So a lot of us have lived through it. And I'm saying rise above the hyperbole. You said your life hasn't gotten better or hasn't gotten worse under this president. Yeah. In 1 week, 67 deaths, Meals on Wheels canceled, Head Start, Department of Health and Human Services. We don't even have the numbers yet of the people who died last week because they couldn't get medications. So I challenge you to think bigger as an American, as a citizen, that sometimes the policies that enacted don't affect me, but every single policy in this country affects me. You are listening to Community Heartbeat, presented by Outreach Community Health Centers. Not just a show, this is a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness, keeping your heart pumping with positivity. Thank y'all for just having a conversation, speaking seriously today. We'll be back in 2 weeks where we'll talk about the impacts of health on your feet and your heart and how it's all connected. But much like the body, we are all in this together, and we'll either heal or fail. We'll see you next week.